So this is going to be like my sixth attempt at doing this. I am not tech savvy whatsoever, and I realized I posted a video to YouTube and then submitted it to the discussion board, and there's no sound to it, and I can't figure out why or how to fix that. So I'm just going to do it again, and hopefully it works. Okay, so my book report was over Josie Mendez's book called Daughters Betrayed, and or it was like Daughters of Juan, and it was about so it was Josie's view of like what happened in their life, and so it was about like the abuse and like what happened in their family and where that really started from and how it turned out in the end. Um, there was a lot of abuse and neglect that went on in this family, and it was a really large family too, a very large household. So for the first theme, I saw the American Dream. Kind of right off the bat, it was what the dad wanted. He wanted this American lifestyle because he wanted a big paycheck. He didn't want to work too hard. He wanted to be able to provide for his family without struggling for money so much. And he wanted a big house. You know, he wanted the perfect family. He wanted fancy cars, and he he wasn't seeing that lifestyle that he wanted being able to get that in Mexico. So all he wanted to do was keep leaving to go to the United States because he thought he could achieve so much more there. So he then started working in Texas in the farms and saving up money and sending it home to Mexico for his family. And it was not the lifestyle he um, imagined. It was really hard work, obviously. He worked in the fields all day long, made barely any money. And so that just doing that slowly built up like this aggression and depression, anxieties and stress. And you know, he didn't know how to deal with it. He just kept thinking that he needed to provide for his family. So he just kept on working. And then, so he did that. He worked in Texas and eventually came back. A second theme that I saw was gender. Um, one, a lot of the abuse happened for the women in the family, the women and the girls. And the males were like praised. They were praised for being like who they are. So Juan ultimately he didn't want any girls for children. He only wanted sons. Um, he wanted sons to carry on his legacy and to help provide for the family because he didn't want to be the only one who was doing it. That was too much for him. So he kept having all these girls, and so that built up even more like anger and depression. They had a lot of kids. They had a total, I think, nine, and three of them were boys, and the rest were girls. And so he did not like that. So um, anything that was built up in Juan, any like anger that was built up, was really taken out on all the girls in the family. And yeah. And then he abused, and so the abuse being like physical and like sexual towards them as well. So another theme is family, of course, because this whole book is about family. It's about her family. Um, they obviously have a big family. They stayed together during the move, and you know they stayed together during the abuse. And I think a big point of it is like no matter what happens or what's going on, like they're family. They're stuck together. Uh, which she kind of we touches back on that later again about Juan. Like you know she hates him, but he's family kind of thing. Um, and that was a big thing about her Josie living in Mexico was because all of her family was there, like her grandmas, her cousins, her aunt, uncles. Um, and it was a beautiful lifestyle for her. Josie loved it there because her family was there, and it was like love and affection and attention. Everything she needed was there. So being taken away from Mexico and moving to the United States with her own family was really hard for her because she was separated from all her other family members that she couldn't see from a day-to-day basis. And so it was really hard for her. So another theme, which Josie talks about a lot, is food. Home cooked meals, just good old food. Um, Josie kind of relates to food with like happiness and like a good time and good memories. So I think it's a really good theme to point out because she often refers back to it just to kind of get out of her own headspace and um, really just not um, be stuck. When she thinks about food, it reminds her of home, reminds her of family, reminds her of Mexico. So food's really important to in this. Um, so she says that um, so I concluded that like no matter how much abuse she endures, she's always happy to sit down and eat a home cooked meal with her family. And so linking that like to memory, at one point Josie meets new family members that she'd never met before. It was like a cousin and an uncle. And when they met them together, they sat down and they ate pineapple and chile. And when when she has that same food combination of pineapple and chili, it reminds her of that time when she met um, family members. So little things like that linked to old memories. And at one point, Juan breaks Josie's jaw, and her jaw is like wired shut and she can't open it. And she writes in her book, even though my jaw was broken, not being able to eat the carne asadas hurt the worst. And I think just like food means so much more than survival to her. Food is love, food is hate. It's linked to memories and connections to family that she can no longer be with. And so I think like when her jaw was shut, not eating the carne asadas wasn't like, oh darn, I'm not gonna eat. Like I'm not gonna taste it. I think it was like more of if she ate it, it was an escape to a memory that she had before of carne asadas with her grandmother. So her not being able to sit down and reminisce and think about it and escape the pain that she's currently in was terrible for her. So the last theme is a big one. It was kind of like why the book was written. It's all throughout it, which is abuse. Um, Everyone in the family endured this abuse. Josie took a lot of it. Um, being in under the same roof was extremely hard. There was like nowhere to run to, and the kids were all really young too, so there was not a whole lot that they could do. And so Josie, being the oldest of the siblings, felt like she had this kind of responsibility to take on and shield the rest of the other siblings. So when Juan was going to go sexually abuse the younger daughters, Josie would kind of put herself in that situation so that he would do it to her instead, so that she could save her sisters from a world of hurt. And this goes on for a long time until like he gets arrested finally, which was a good thing that they did move to the United States because she did say in her book that if they would have stayed in Texas or in Mexico, people would have known about it, the police would have known about it, but nothing would have happened. It would have been gossiped about and whispered about, but ultimately no action would have been taken. And so she says that she was thankful that they moved to the United States because once these actions did come to light and people found out about it, action was taking place. And then he ultimately um, made it to jail. Other abuse too came from her mother. I think just because the mom knew what was going on and she chose to not do anything about it and just kind of chose to neglect her kids. And I think that was because she also had so much going on herself. She was also being abused by Juan and also trying to like help provide for the family. And I think just like knowing this one more thing would have just like broke her. But I mean, ultimately, she neglected them and didn't help them and couldn't provide resources for them either and just let this abuse continue on. So it was a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of childhood abuse that was going on. So I linked it to this video that I found on YouTube. It is a TED Talk. It's called Healing uh, from Childhood Trauma by Katie. I'll post the link on there. It's a really good video. It's kind of long, but it really relates to the book as well, just because the TED Talk speaker, was also dealing with childhood trauma, and it was kind of like how to really identify it. Because when you're in that position, you think everything's okay because it's your family. So you think this is supposed to happen. You think it's right. So she kind of puts you in that perspective of no, this isn't right. How do you identify that? And she also like helps you imagine, like puts you in that position too, because it's easy to think about, but it's like hard to put yourself in that position. So it's a really good TED Talk, and she just kind of goes over like how she kind of dealt with the trauma as well, and how she kind of overcame it and healed from her troubled past. Which this book was also the same thing. It was how Josie dealt with her troubled past and how she healed from it. And in the end, how she forgave Juan for it, which I don't know how she did, but she did. And um, she's very resilient. She's very brave. Like has all this love and happiness in her, and came to forgive. And so this video is also kind of like that too, of just how to deal with it and how to face it. So it's also kind of sad. It really it is very similar to the book, so it's kind of sad as well. So hope you're not looking for anything uplifting. And I hope this video works. Thanks for watching, probably for the 5th time. Okay, I miss you guys. Bye.